News First, Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.
And a very good morning to you. This is News First, live as always from the News First studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And on this wet morning, we're going slightly international actually. We are joined here by the former president of the Maldives, President Mohamed Nasheed. He's right here with us. He's sort of in some form of exile, and but yet he's won the primaries. I mean, he's been elected to represent this party, but this is a bit of an anomaly. It doesn't appear that he might be able to go back there to actually contest, lest he be put in jail. To tell us all about that, and also perhaps about China's growing involvement in the region, he's right here, President Mohamed Nasheed. Very good morning to you.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you very much for having me.
It's a great pleasure. It's always a pleasure to have somebody who's fighting for...
And can I also say Happy Ramadan for all the Muslims and everyone celebrating?
Thank you very much. We wish you, President Nasheed, the very same, your family, and we hope and pray for an early resolution to the problems that are being faced by you and also by the people of the Maldives, because democracy is at peril in the Maldives. But you've done something quite remarkable. You've been in exile, and you've managed to win 83% of your party's members' votes as the next presidential candidate. Now, that's actually really remarkable, because you're in exile. Now, what will happen? Do you think you'll be able to go back and actually contest the election?
Well, it's difficult to say.
Right.
President Yamin is convinced that if my name is on the ballot paper, he has no chance. He himself is convinced about that.
Right.
So he has jailed every single opposition leader, not just myself.
Right.
Former President Gayoom, who is his own brother, is in jail. The leader of the Adalat party, Sheikh Imran, is in jail.
Right.
His former defense minister is in jail. President Yamin's vice president is in jail. 2 prosecutor generals are in jail. 2 police chiefs are in jail.
The jails are full.
The jail is full of politicians and high caliber government servants and all.
What are the conditions like inside these jails?
But they're never, I mean, a jail is never a nice place to be.
Right.
The conditions are bad. It's very often very small cells.
Right.
And it's dark with mosquitoes, rats, and cockroaches, you name it.
Oh dear. And
so this is not certainly not the jail you would find in Saudi Arabia, for instance, when the princesses or the princes were.
So this is not the.
Yes, this is not the
Ritz-Carlton.
No, it's certainly not.
Right. And so you didn't have plush mattresses?
No, they wouldn't. I'm quite aware how a jail would look like, and I spent the best half of my adult life there in Maldives jails, so it can't be a pleasant experience.
How does it feel actually to be in jail?
I was 22, going 22 when I was first incarcerated.
All to do with politics?
Oh, because I was writing, and you wouldn't believe this, because I had written an article for the Island, in Island newspaper here, in 1989.
Right.
I think Gamini Veerakun was the editor at that time.
Right.
Or Edmund Ramsing. I think Gamini Veerakun was the editor. So I had written an article, and they didn't like it, so they arrested me for that.
Oh.
This was a long time ago, when I was much younger.
And then who was the president? Gayoom?
President Gayoom was in government. That was his administration.
And now you're all together?
We have come together. President Gayoom, Adalat Party, and Jamhuri Party, which is led by Honorable Qasim.
Right.
So we will come out with a single candidate. The bulk of us would come out with a single candidate anyway.
Right.
We are in deliberation, and the irony of this is President Yamin might be able to lock every single opposition leader, but that doesn't necessarily translate the votes to these leaders to President Yamin. It doesn't translate the support.
It's just only that he can lock these people up.
It is only that he can lock these people up. So if you go to an election and seek support, by locking up the opposition, you don't necessarily get the support of the opposition. To him, you can't translate that.
It's a bit ironic, isn't it, to spend your time in jail on this paradisian islands where people spend top dollar to come there and to enjoy the sun and the sea and the sand.
You see, our first ruling dynasty in the Maldives started from a banished Sri Lankan princess. The myth has it. So since then, we've always banished people. So our islands are actually traditionally more taken not as paradise, but banishment islands.
All these tourists who arrive,
they are on banishment.
They enjoy this banishment because they pay top dollar for.
Well, yes, they enjoy it extremely, and because then you got from banishment, then came into this secluded desert island, desert island ideas. And in fact, I think the word resort island. Now remember, in the 60s and 70s, or 50s, 60s and 70s, I wouldn't remember, but as you might, the people would refer the beach as the seaside.
That's right.
You never went on a beach holiday.
You went to the seaside.
You went on a seaside holiday.
Yeah.
So the Maldives, in a sense, started coining the phrase beach holiday.
I see.
And much of it is to also a lot of its credit goes to entrepreneurs in Sri Lanka. You might remember Ceylon Tours. And Surain.
All these old names.
Yes, old names. And I think, I know that Ceylon Tours was instrumental in building this industry in the Maldives.
Oh, and you speak with such fondness. You must be missing the Maldives.
Oh, I do. I miss the Maldives a lot. I miss my home, I miss my parents, I miss my family, I miss my friends. I know Male is a mess. I know it's a concrete jungle. But you have an outrageous attachment to these anomalies.
And how long have you not been home?
It's now going 3 years. This is the third year.
And in 3 years you've been spending your time here and in the UK?
Well, I was first granted asylum. I was allowed to go on medication to the United Kingdom. And then I sought asylum in the UK. And then they granted me asylum so that I could also travel as well. And then I had come to Sri Lanka, and I've been here very often now. I hope to stay until the elections.
What about children and family?
Both my children are, one, she's doing her O-levels this year. She studies in England. And my elder daughter goes to university in Scotland. So
they're safely away from the peril that is paradise, that is the Maldives.
Well, you see, they faced a coup in 2012. I think they were very much shocked and rattled by the violent events at that time. But the more you see, the more experienced you become, and I think they're strong people. And I hope that they would grow up to be stronger.
And your wife?
Laila is also with them in London, and Laila has all her life worked for the WHO. But after the troubles, especially after my arrests, and when Laila started advocating for my release, the United Nations thought, the WHO thought, that this was a bias or one-sided, that Laila was actually mentioning that her husband,
Yeah.
is in jail.
Right.
And so the good United Nations actually asked her to resign.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
It's so democratic.
Well, extremely humanitarian as well.
Yeah, I see. Well, what a pity. But now then, you've been elected as the representative of the Maldivian Democratic Party, and then elections are when? When is it scheduled?
Well, 23rd September, they say, the Elections Commission. Now,
what will happen if you hop on board an airline and landed in the Maldives today?
you see, the received wisdom, or the main idea would be that I would be taken to jail.
Yeah.
But I think that might not happen. I want to have a conversation with President Yamin.
Yes.
I want to see how we can resolve the issue without further damage to the Maldives. If I go there now, the perception is that I will be arrested because I have a jail sentence on me. Mm-hmm. But then again, the Supreme Court has overturned my sentence.
Yeah.
And therefore it remains to be seen the actual status.
But the people who gave that decision, to overturn that decision, are now in jail themselves.
They are in jail themselves.
This is a funny democracy.
It's Maldives democracy.
It's Maldives.
It's Maldives democracy.
Right. Well,
it's a peculiar type.
It's very peculiar. Now then, as you mentioned some weeks ago about China and the way they use the debt trap to inveigle themselves into taking your land and to becoming to gaining a lot of influence. Are you really quite worried about this scenario?
I think it's very, very serious.
Right.
I think it's extremely serious.
Yeah.
Without firing a single shot,
Yeah.
China has grabbed more land than the East India Company had done at the height of the colonial era. According to the World Bank, the size of it now maps to some 37 Sri Lankas.
Wow.
Around the world.
Right.
Now, mainly in Indian Ocean islands, or the silk, what they call the silk belt route, or those bordering onto that route. Now, how this happens is quite outrageous. First, they intervene and start backing an authoritarian ruler.
Right.
Now, this is done mainly by weaponizing corruption.
Yeah.
You either purchase a legislature, a judiciary, and a presidency.
Right.
And there are a number of countries around the Indian Ocean where a powerful country can actually go in and do that with money. Now, once that was done, then they changed a number of legislations, especially Finance Act, Investments Act, and a number of legislations.
Right.
Once that was done, they would get an unsolicited contract without bidding.
Okay.
Now, with the contract, then they go and inflate the price of the contract to twice its amount.
Right.
And then get a sovereign guarantee from your treasury for that inflated amount.
Right.
But the project would just cost the project price.
Right. It's the same.
It's the same.
Yeah.
They don't bring in the inflated amount of money.
No.
The actual project money is brought in.
Yeah. What happens to the difference?
That's the debt trap.
Okay.
So they increase the price.
Who gets that money then?
China. I don't think there's a view that this money goes into corruption. Some of it might, but this is huge amounts. Now, for instance, the bridge in Malé, between Malé and Hudule, the airport island. When we were in government, we did a government estimate for the bridge, and it came out to be $79 million, 76 to 780. But China is now building it for $300 million.
So where's the other 220?
It didn't come. The treasury, what they wanted was a sovereign guarantee from the treasury for the 300 million. But they would only spend 100 million. So the idea is that you can't pay back your loan.
And why does the Maldivian government, or any government, why do they go into this with their eyes wide open?
Now the question is, how do they create drivers for land grab? Now, so land grab has, let's say, experts in this. Actually, there's only one expert that I know of, a lady, a girl in Liège University in Brussels. I hadn't seen a study done until we got Liège to do some kind of a study on it, which they did. And since then we've started seeing. Now your question was, why do countries walk into it blindfolded?
Indeed, yeah.
Now there are drivers, internal drivers. Now internal drivers are lubricated through corruption. So you get the whole idea of buying up a legislature is to get the presidency to act as an internal driver, or the government to act as an internal driver. Then you would have for instance, the president of the Maldives might be selling Chinese contracts to neighboring countries.
Oh.
Yes.
Goodness me.
I think people who've been presidents might have come across these situations where other presidents might have tried to push Chinese projects on you.
Oh, really?
People might have this experience.
We'll have to talk to our former presidents and see what their experience is.
But indeed, if you get hold of a former president, it might be a worthwhile question to pose of, have you ever been asked to serve Chinese contracts? Have
you ever asked Chandrika Kumaratunga this question?
No, sir, I have not asked, and I am extremely sure that Mrs. Bandaranaike would not be an internal driver. I have no doubt about that.
Right, okay. Now then, I want to say this. There is a form of bullying on the part of China, isn't there? And now, for example, this morning's press in Sri Lanka, they're talking about the Chinese company that is doing the Hambantota port are withholding payment because they want permission to, which has not been granted, to have an entertainment zone on some of these reclaimed islands off the coast of Hambantota. Now, this wasn't really part of the agreement. I'm sure that the government of Sri Lanka will retain for themselves the right to do that. But now the whole withholding payment, it's a bit of a bullying tactic here.
Well, they use debt as a disciplining tool, as a disciplining agent. So yes, the whole idea of the debt trap is to create a leverage where you can influence internal policy.
Right.
This is what is happening in the Maldives. I can only talk about the Maldives. I am very, very familiar with the issues in the Maldives. So for me, this is a very worrying situation where the biggest worry is that once, when you can't pay the debt, Chinese companies ask for equity. With equity, you give up land, and with land, you relinquish sovereignty. Now, if any part of the Maldives has more influence on it by China or any other country, now that would be a worry for our other neighbors, both Sri Lanka, India, Seychelles, you name it. So we cannot relinquish sovereignty. So therefore we cannot give up, we cannot be forced into giving up equity.
So what happens when the time comes and we can't pay? We as in a country, when we can't pay, and they're asking you for some equity in terms of land, and the president or the head of state has changed, the whole political makeup has changed, and they say, no, we're not doing it.
You can't do that.
Can't do that.
You can't do that.
Won't they just back off if we...
No, you can't do that because it's a sovereign contract.
Right.
No, you would destroy, or you would disfigure, squeal the international order if you do that.
Right.
Because this is a sovereign agreement.
Yeah.
So we must find, you can't just simply say, I'm not going to pay you.
Yeah.
I don't think that is a solution.
No.
China must bring down these projects to its actual value.
Well, that's what I mean, in a way as well. And we have some commercial contracts in this country. When these agreements were done, were long before Sri Lanka ever appeared on any map in terms of tourism and so on. And the management fees from some of these international brand names is astronomically high. But in, say, the last 10 years or so, it's been renegotiated and brought into par with the rest of the world. But is that kind of thing possible with China?
Well, nationalizing land after colonial rule, I am sure many Asian countries are very familiar with that.
Right.
And also the backlash from it.
Right.
Now at the end of the day, then you kind of give another 10, 20 years, you're wondering who has the land.
Yeah.
And then you want to you have to nationalize the land.
Yeah.
Now there is someone else who is on the rise, but not on the decline, who want to claim the land.
Right.
When, for instance, a number of former British colonial countries wanted to nationalize the land, Britain was with the view that they would relinquish, or they would step back east of Suez. So it was possible for our countries to actually nationalize the land.
Right.
But I think in this case, where you have a power which is on the rise, nationalizing that land unilaterally would be almost impossible. But I think you can take the land, you can have the view that this is a human rights abuse. This is not commercial.
Right.
This is suppression.
Right.
This is neocolonialism.
Right.
This is land grab for what it is.
Yeah.
And so you can have a view, but I think, my view is that China would agree to renegotiate these contracts and bring down the value to the actual value.
Yes, I think there's an urgent need for...
because they haven't really spent that money.
No.
So, they haven't spent that money. So there's no need for them to be charging.
But to obtain that huge margin, for which they're doing nothing for that.
Yeah.
To obtain that, do you think there's a lot of corruption going on?
Of course. Yeah. They have weaponized. I mean, East India Company did it, and Britain and European countries did it with gunboats.
Right.
But China has decided to do it more intelligently and also more quietly.
What about in the Maldives? You talk about all these people who are opposed to the ruling president, being jailed and so on for doing their job, or for trying to be democratic, and yet you find people are still having hope for democracy and so on. And you're stuck here. What has been the response of the international community?
Very lukewarm. The UN Working Group on Arbitrary Detention has ruled in my favor. The UN Human Rights Commission has also ruled in my favor. The European Union, the United States, the Commonwealth and India has just only issued statements. They have not necessarily taken any measure to rectify, to correct the situation in the Maldives. They have not.
They have not.
I can't understand why they have not, especially my view is that Sri Lanka has a direct influence, impact from the Maldives, both ways. Both countries have impacts, and I think Sri Lanka needs to more robustly engage itself in trying to see that the elections become free and fair. Now, the view that this is an internal issue of the Maldives, I think that's a very silly view.
Right. That's a bit too. It's unbelievable, isn't it? Because it's actually everybody's business.
It's everybody's business. I mean,
it's now. I have a viewer who's saying this thing, and it makes sort of sense. I've been reading through it in between. It says China is bullying Sri Lanka very much the way that President Nasheed described them during his address at our group's Executive of the Year function last month, where you were our chief guest. And it appears that China has invested big money in the port city, for example, in Sri Lanka, and many other projects, and they can't afford to lose us. Our strength is that China has very few big nations backing them. That's our strength. That's your strength in the Maldives. And our viewers saying we should take them on and cry foul, and surely they will back off. Unfortunately, some governments, ours included, and our present one and the former one, won't do that for, I suppose, a simple reason that they have all taken big money and been susceptible to corruption, and they've handed over these huge contracts. But I think the point our view is making is, won't they back off when you say, look?
You shouldn't get me deported from your country.
No, we're not. I'm not. I'm just talking about you in the Maldives. Well,
the situation in the Maldives is very worrying.
Yeah. What happens if you want to?
I think we should make a stand.
Right.
And I think.
You think they'll back off?
I think they must. Remember, people would remember in 2009 when Copenhagen summit came, and we were advocating for below 1.5 degrees, and China refused to do that. But we kept on engaging with China on this, and in Paris they agreed.
So we must take them on.
We must take them on.
Is it a good idea to embarrass them?
Look, you do whatever you can to get your to get what is deserved for you.
Yeah.
This is your country. It's our countries. And we can't let that go by. We shouldn't do that. I am not against foreign direct investments.
Right.
I am a center-right politician.
Yeah.
And as I pointed out in Maharaja event, capitalism has a lot to offer for a good, stable society. And I believe in that form of government. And I think we should be able to exploit our own riches, our own resources. And we should also be able to invite foreign investments, but let them play at on a level playing field. They don't have to come and grab the land. They can come and trade. They can come and exchange goods. They can come and use our ports, our harbors, anything.
That's about it.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yes.
And they can even do anything in our country. But they don't have to own it. They don't have to take it. And I don't think we should relinquish. I don't think we should give. I think we should stand up.
Yeah. Talking about facing up and making them, getting them to back off, the mighty British Empire backed off when Sri Lanka and India wanted their independence.
Mind you, after many 700 years, and we don't want to go into that situation.
No.
Knowing what has happened to us in the past.
Yes, that's why we're a bit more.
And let's say your Eastern Command or the admiral sitting in Trincomalee would have 100 years before commanded from Aden all the way up to Singapore.
Right.
Now, this is the territory that this Silk Route is so very interested in.
Yes.
And I wouldn't find anyone more experienced in defending this territory, Indian Ocean territory, than the command center in Trinco and the one in Colombo here. Now, you would still find the same desk, the same chairs, and in fact the same caliber of people. All Trinitians probably.
We've come to the end of our eventful half an hour, but the message appears to be to China that they must not demand, they must negotiate, and we must negotiate from a position of strength and not hand over our land. And President Nasheed, thank you very much. We hope your troubles will subside. We hope that you'll be able to return and contest as a fully paid up member of Maldivian society. And we hope that you win, of course.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
You're very welcome.
And I would like to thank the Sri Lankan government and its people for the compassion that they're showing to our issues and the work that they're doing to see that we come through in better form.
Indeed, and we do hope that our government won't wait 600 years to negotiate with China. We must start now and put it all to bed. On that note, President Nasheed, thank you very much. And that's the way it was on Newsline this wonderful day. Take care and God bless.
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.